Hello, travelers, and welcome to Go See, Do Explore.
Here, we dive deep into the heart of travel, sharing hidden gems, unforgettable experiences, and the stories that make each destination unique.
Whether you're a seasoned traveler or dreaming of your next getaway, you're in the right place to get inspired.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh.
And together, we'll set the course for your next great adventure and discover the stories that make each place unforgettable.
It's time to go, see, and do more. Let's explore. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Go See, Do Explore. This is a pretty special episode because we have an interview for you.
Our first ever interview. You get to hear someone besides us.
I know, right?
That's exciting.
We are interviewing Chef Shawn, who is the chef of Kingston Kitchen, on a Jamaican restaurant on Mackinac Island that we talked about visiting on our episode when we talked about Mackinac Island.
Yeah, I'm sure that many of our listeners are familiar with Mackinac Island, but if you're not, Mackinac Island is this little island in Lake Huron or the Straits of Mackinac in Michigan that does not have cars.
It's like a step back in time, visiting a little bit.
Exactly. And so it's definitely a tourist destination. The majority of the traffic there during the tourist season is tourists, not locals. And so for years, the restaurants there have been catered towards sort of typical American tourist kind of fare. There's good stuff. There's not so good stuff.
But there's not a lot of inventive stuff. It's a lot of burgers and fries, some fish.
And then some fancy restaurants.
Right.
But having a Jamaican restaurant on Mackinac Island is a really exciting thing. And we went there last fall. We talked about it on another episode and really loved it. So we were able to arrange an interview with Chef Shawn, and it was a lot of fun. So we're going to go to that now. I hope that you enjoy it. Joining us today in a very special interview is Chef Shawn Fearon. Chef Shawn is the chef and owner of Kingston Kitchen on Mackinac Island, which we discussed in a previous episode, our visit, how much we loved it. And so we are so excited to talk with Chef Shawn, who has a very interesting story. I'm sure he's going to share some with us here. Chef, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Ashleigh.
So why don't we start here? What brought you to Michigan? Why did you choose Michigan, and especially Mackinac Island, as a place to come live and work?
Honestly, Chris, it wasn't a choice. Many years ago, I was in Jamaica and they had the work seasonal program. And I just went down to the Ministry of Labor. The government of Jamaica and the American government was doing a work exchange. They wanted seasonal worker to fill in certain areas in America. And hospitality was one of them in seasonal places. So I just went. I remember my first year I went and I applied. I did not get in. However, they kept my name on their application. So I got in the second year. And all I was grateful for, Christopher, this might sound crazy, okay? Being how old was I? 22-year-old at the time. I knew like maybe 4 places. And I honestly thought this is the entire country of America. I know of California because there was a Baywatch on TV that we watched in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing at me, Ashley? And everybody knew of Chicago because of the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. And who doesn't know about New York, right? And I knew about Texas from watching the news on the Weather Channel when it was very hot. And it's like 100 degrees. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's bigger than Jamaica. I don't care. Just want to get the opportunity to go to America. So when I got you on the program and they're like, well, you're going to Michigan, Christopher, I had no idea about snow, different climates. I just wanted to come and work. Mm-hmm. And here I am 20-something years later.
Amazing. So we read that you had initially opened Kingston Kitchen in Okemos, which is actually not very far from us at all. I wish we had known about it. We definitely would have been there back then. But without focusing too much on the shift specifically, what drew you to Mackinac Island to serve Jamaican cuisine there and to operate a restaurant there?
So 90% of my working experience has been Mackinac Island, Michigan, right? I came on the H2B program straight to Mackinac Island. I spent years going back and forth until I decided to migrate and stay here. So then I moved off Mackinac Island to real world America, I call it, and started to drive to work and after driving snow, which is a different story. We've got to have two shows for that story.
Yeah.
So when I got the opportunity to open up Okamis, after I'd opened up Okamis, this opportunity presented itself on Mackinac Island. And because I was familiar with business on the island and I worked my way up to management position on Mackinac Island, I had a good idea of what I was getting into. And I knew coming to Mackinac Island would be it's like a shock to the system being a Jamaican restaurant up there. Yeah.
It certainly grabbed our attention when we were looking
Right.
for places to go this last fall that we visited recently. And we've been to Mackinac many times, but we were looking to try something new. And there was Kingston Kitchen. We were so excited. I'm curious, so going from operating a restaurant in a community like Okamis to a very different sort of community on Mackinac Island, you mentioned knowing what Mackinac would be like. Would you share a little bit more about that? What is Mackinac like for a restaurant operator such as yourself?
It's high adrenaline, 24/7's work. The season is pretty much 6 months, but you pretty much do your bulk of your business in 3.5 months. And that 3.5 months is 3.5 months working like the fingers on your clock, just constantly going non-stop for 3.5 months. It's a family-oriented community, a nice, small community. I was treated well, I was accepted, and I think Mackinac Island for tourism is also very different. Not much place, I would say, in my opinion, emphasize on historic things like Mackinac Island do. Like, for example, there's no motor vehicle allowed. And that's like, I think, a big draw to Mackinac Island. You come there and doesn't matter what, you're going to be pulled either on a horse carriage or you walk or your bicycle. It's just it's like set back in time in the present, but you don't feel like you're back in time, because all these hotels around and restaurant is modern. You're living in a modern time, ancient atmosphere is my best way to put it.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see a restaurant like yours there. We're so excited to come back when the season starts up again, once those boats start running. I don't know if we're up for the snowmobiles. Just curious, do you get back to Jamaica often, or are you pretty much based here now?
Often for me would be every 2 year or 2.5 to 3 year. I pretty much go back home just to de-stress. For me, to de-stress means I go off on the North Coast like a tourist. I'm on spring break. You ever see spring break?
Yeah.
That's me going to Jamaica.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So when you do visit then, what are some must-see places or experiences that you would recommend for travelers interested in Jamaica and Caribbean culture, cuisine, things like that?
For me, personally, I'm a true Kingstonian, and I am very proud of that. And a lot of Jamaicans will tell you they're from Kingston, but they live in St. Andrew. I'm Kingston here, so I'm like downtown, the capital, Kingston. So in my community, there's the National Heroes Park called National Heroes Circle, where the 7 heroes are, the statues of the 7 heroes. We have a nice old traditional road. It's like a street side vending where you get traditional crab and roast yam and saltfish. I have to visit there and I stand across there and I get soup cooking those big old grandma walks, something that me and you can fit in when we're dead and be buried. That's the size of the pot, Christopher. And I look across and take in the history. I'll drive by my alma mater high school, Kingston College. That's for me, okay? Now, as a tourist, I'll tell a tourist that I would like tourists to go to like the Bob Marley Museum Center, for example. I'll encourage people to go to the National Heroes Park. We now have a new park called the Emancipation Park uptown. And that's a nice area to visit also. But I like to push the educational side of Jamaica. And that's one of the things I try to push in my cuisine and my restaurant is the side of Jamaica that is not really exposed a lot to travelers.
Absolutely. And so with that in mind, and especially for travelers who might be unfamiliar with Jamaican cuisine, What makes it unique, and what should they expect when having Jamaican cuisine, whether it's there in Kingston or in your restaurant, Kingston Kitchen?
So, what makes Jamaican cuisine unique is the way we go about cooking, our method of cooking, I will explain, and our seasoning process. Okay. Jamaican, like my mom back in the day, and even now, we don't just go get the chicken and cut it up and season it and start cooking immediately. We let that sit for a little bit, a couple of hours, and let it marinate, and then we start cooking. Our food is, for lack of word, is not salt and pepper. I don't want to use the American word for that. I don't want to get into trouble to say plain Jane.
Yeah.
You know, we'll be cooking and we'll be putting 20 different seasoning on one meat, okay? Spice is what you American will call pepper. For us, pepper is pepper. For us, spice is spice. Spice is garlic powder, onion powder, all these things. Pepper is pepper. But it's not everything for us is going to be peppery. Certain things we cook like that to enhance the flavor. So, for example, you can get jerk chicken without the pepper. The pepper is not what makes jerk chicken special. The pepper is the seasoning that we make and the method of cooking that we use, because jerk is supposed to be under a pan. So it's supposed to be like a mild smoke. It's not like your deep Texas barbecue smoking pan like that, but we use pimento wood. Like if you go to real country Jamaican, we use pimento wood to do our jerk. But that chicken is seasoned from yesterday to cook tonight after we party. See that?
Okay.
Yes. So jerk for us is a party food.
It's so interesting how the food is not just there in isolation, then the food is deeply rooted to
Yes.
non-food cultural events.
Yes. Everything for us, food for us in Jamaica plays a vital role. So we like to party. I don't think no country party more than us. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I don't think no country is going to outwork a Jamaican physically, and that's the truth. Whenever we do something, we go to the extreme. When we party, remember, we're classified as a third world country, as a kid growing up. When you guys party, you get to sleep in. We don't have that luxury. When you get up at 12 o'clock, we're already 6 hours into our shift. And you pop an aspirin and a bottle of water or some Pedialyte and go back to sleep. So that's your jerk. Now for us, when we done partying at 4 or 5 in the morning, like a rock star, like wrestling, we eat spicy jerk food. So all that alcohol is not going to sit well with that spice. Something has to give.
Wow.
Christopher, you have to go to work.
Okay.
Christopher, you're looking at a party animal. And I remember going to work and public transportation and telling the driver, hey, hold on, can you pull over? And he pull over, Chris. And I go do my thing.
Wow.
And get back on the bus and go to work. Okay. So food plays a very deep, practical part of our culture. For example, for me, I like to tell Americans when they come in my restaurant and they say, Chef, what must we have? I'm not going to tell you jerk chicken, Chris. I'm going to tell you to go try my mom's oxtail.
Yeah, I was wondering. I definitely wanted to ask you your recommendation for first-time visitors. And I had read, I think in another article, that oxtail was your favorite. Is that true?
That is true, Chris. Because you know what happened, Chris?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a cultural story. As a guy, when our mom teaches us something, like in cooking, and you grow up and become a man and say you're doing that. And then you say, oh, my mom teach me to do this. Listen keenly, Chris. You better do it damn good.
Yeah.
Because if your mom is dead and you messed it up, she's coming from the grave.
Yeah.
Jamaican moms don't play. I'll accept anybody to complain about anything in my restaurant, and I will apologize. And I'm a very open and transparent young man. I'm not going to give you an excuse. The buck stop with me. I'll do whatever it takes to make you happy. Oxtail, you complain about oxtail, we're going to fight. Because the hands of God of my mom is coming to America for me.
That's right.
Yeah, great.
Amazing. I was also reading that you had created some various kind of fusion dishes. I don't know if that's the term you'd prefer, but a combination of food from Jamaica, food from other places, from here, from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Are there any in particular that have surprised visitors or that you've really loved?
Yes. For example, one of my popular fusion dishes is jerk chicken Alfredo,
Okay.
where chicken Alfredo is a very popular American dish. And I take it and I infuse a little bit of jerk, just enough to change that just cheesy profile. So instead of getting all that cream cheesy
Yeah.
flavor coming through, you have that hint of jerk coming through. And it's one of my greatest creation that I've done. I also, for example, on Mackinac up north here in Michigan, Michigan is a Great Lakes state. So we have lots of whitefish.
Mhm.
Smoked whitefish is hands down. And I take that and I call it my twisted jerk whitefish dip.
Oh, wow.
So instead of making it cold, I make it hot with a jerk flavor coming through on it.
That sounds amazing. And the Alfredo makes a lot of sense to me too, because I think if that dish, like the just regular Alfredo,
Yep.
has any kind of a flaw, it's just not punchy at all, right? It's just kind of
Yeah.
like fatty and it's very good. It's got a lot of cheese, but like there's not a lot of like acid or spice or anything. So hitting it with some of that makes a
It's
lot of sense
good.
to me.
I do flavor my entire menu. I have a section that you can get authentic Jamaican dishes. The rest of my menu that screams American, you can see the Jamaican flavor in it coming out. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'll do a burger on my menu called the Dunn's River Flood, right? Where
Sure.
I take a traditional American burger, I hit that with jerk bacon, and then I
Mm.
fried a big old piece of cheddar cheese, like fried, put it on top of that.
That sounds great. The jerk bacon is another one I think we have to try. I had the jerk pork last fall, which I loved. Hands down the best jerk anything I've ever had in the US. I had
Thank you.
the privilege of having it one time in Jamaica, and it was, of course, the best I've ever had.
Yep.
We'll get to my questions about ingredients here in a second, too, related to that. But it sounds very inventive, very exciting. We're big fans and can't wait to come back. um, so we know a little, basically what you've shared with us and a little bit about Jamaican ingredients, Jamaican cuisine. I was aware of the pimento wood in particular because that time that we did go to Jamaica and had jerk chicken, which I assume the jerk chicken we had was a very tourist
Authentic.
oriented jerk chicken, but it was still better than certainly anything we've had elsewhere. And then I came back, and one of the things that I love to do, and listeners to this podcast will know that when we come back from a place, I love to learn how to cook a little bit of the food that we ate there.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make some jerk chicken. I'm going to do it. And then, like, the first thing I learned was that, oh, you can't buy that wood here. Like pimento wood, you can't buy it in the US, right? So I'm curious in general, since Jamaican cuisine often relies on these specific ingredients that may or may not be available, and because Mackinac Island in itself is a place that's hard to get things to,
Yep.
right? Given that it's an island, given that there are no
Yep.
cars, everything has to come by boat or plane. What is it like for you as a restaurant operator on Mackinac Island to source these Jamaican ingredients? Have you had to get creative? What's that like for you?
In the beginning, it was a little bit of a challenge, but there is companies out there that does these foreign food imports. The problem is that you have to be moving certain volume because you have to buy in certain volume for them to bring it in, where it makes sense because of the shipping, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, I will serve Jamaican bottled drinks is on my menu, like
Mhm.
this brand called Tropical Rhythm, right? So, in order for that company to bring it in, I got to buy like 50 cases, 100 cases of different flavors of Tropical Rhythm.
Yeah.
So, you got to have the storage space and then you got to have the capability to buy so much in a bulk. And then you
Mm.
got to have the market where you turn around and burn through that instead of just having it sitting and going back. On the topic of fermented wood and using the Jamaican stuff that will make the dish, I got creative. For example, for me, on Mackinac Island, I can't use it. We call it back home a jerk pan or a jerk pit, right?
Mhm.
There's no way they're going to allow that. It's an island.
Yeah.
The wrong one spark on the island goes in flame,
Right.
you know?
Uh-huh.
So I got creative and I bought a machine that is like a smoker slash steamer. Okay. Because I didn't want to go with a full smoker because it's not supposed to be smoked chicken. So I turn around now and then I buy like different wood chips that is readily available in America that you will use in your home to barbecue on in the summertime on your grill.
Mhm.
And that's how I create and get as close as possible to my Jamaican flavors in the restaurant, is by using different equipment and subbing out some of my products, like the pimento wood, to the best flavored wood that I can get to
Yeah.
use. Yeah.
And then I just have to know. So then everything comes from the ferry dock to your restaurant by carriage? Are they pulling it on horses, or is it close enough that they just walk it?
So this is the funny thing, right? You can't pull your goods on the road, because if you pull your goods on the road and that cart get out of control, it's going to run over a horse. Two, horses have the right of way on Mackinac Island. Okay? We have a freight boat that brings over the food trucks every morning, 6 days a week. And then they unload onto the dray,
Mhm.
5 in the morning. And the dray now delivers the goods to the restaurant. So by the time you wake up as a tourist, 8, 9 o'clock, you don't see any of this. And you're wondering, so how do they get stuff here when you're looking at the
Right.
sky? It happened while you're sleeping.
Yeah, for sure.
In the wintertime now, like I'm hoping now for the winter and the lake is frozen, okay?
Mhm.
But it's not frozen enough to go on it. So it's
Right.
kind of like just miserable. You got to fly everything over on our little two-seater plane. I call it two-seater, but it's not a two-seater.
4 or 6 seats.
It carry 8 people. They have a couple of those planes and they'll use 2 of them to bring over goods to the island, and
Mhm.
the next 2 to be shuttling off back and forth with passengers, because I went to the island yesterday and I had to fly over and then I had to fly back off.
It's a very short distance.
Yeah, I don't think Ashley will do well with that. Actually, looks like she doesn't like heights.
I'll fly sometime. Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm curious to know a little bit more about winter. We have a friend who years ago spent a couple winters on Mackinac. She was working at some of the resorts and actually stayed there all year. But so we heard a little bit from her, but I'm curious from your perspective, like what is it like in winter with so few people and a very small community, as you said?
So Mackinac Island on a whole, right? It's just different, okay? And if you're not able to adjust, and this is my opinion, okay? It's not written in an encyclopedia or on the internet, okay? If you can't adjust, then it becomes a problem. So you start the summer, right? You come to Mackinac for the summer. You went from seeing so much people, 1.2 to 1.5 million people, thousands of workers from all over the world, different ethnic groups, different parties every night, right?
Yeah.
And you decide to stay the winter. Come November, it's like a complete ghost town. It's like they're preparing the production to shoot a horror film. The leaves start to fall off the trees.
Yeah.
It's get windy, 60-mile-an-hour wind. The lake look like it's gonna tsunami the island, because
Uh-huh.
that's how it comes up
Yeah.
high. Okay. And you're like shaking when the rest of the world is warm. Rest of Michigan is warm. Mackinac Island starting to freeze. Then winter kicks in, and then you're looking around, and there's absolutely nobody for hours. So you just have your construction workers that is doing the construction and maintenance that has to be done throughout the winter when things get shut down. And we have like 500 locals with their families and kids. So for me, I like this time of the year. It gives me the chance to not be like going 100 miles an hour. I can just chill, and relax and get a different side of the island. So I feel refreshed when summer comes and you have to go 100. You have the energy, can go 100, and the mental capacity to focus because
Yeah.
of the different changes. So the weather is bad, for example. Chris, I can stay home, my favorite spot.
Uh-huh. Yes.
I'm not going to complain until the weather clears up and I'm able to go back out and go do stuff. I don't think Mackinac Island, what happens in the summer, I don't think in a real world that's like practically sustainable for
No,
12 months.
certainly not.
Yeah, year after year after year. So I think, with the greater gods out there, Mackinac Island is perfectly designed.
Definitely. So you mentioned home is your favorite spot. my question when you're not cooking, if you have a favorite Mackinac or Northern Michigan activity or place you like to visit, of course, your home. Is there anything else of note?
To be honest, yeah, Chris, lately I slightly started to think about a little bit of travel.
Okay.
So I'll go a few places,
Mhm.
and lately I've like learned how to let go of everything, a bunch of stuff. So it frees me up that I'm
Yeah.
not like up here all the time and can sit back and just look at the lake and be like, oh, this is nice. Put my feet in the water and be like, wow, it's the first time I went into the lake without a shoes. So that is a big question that you ask, challenging, because all these years, Chris, I'm like, work makes me happy. Like when I'm at work, I'm happy.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, when I go home and to entertain people, I want to cook again. So I'm still happy. I cooked the other day for some friends and they're like, oh, we feel so bad. I'm like, stop. Like, you want to cook, then I don't want you to call me to ask me to help you hang a TV or fix your car.
Yeah, I gotta imagine it's very special to be so close to the Great Lakes like that all the time. They are, I feel really special and privileged to live in a place that has these amazing lakes. Although they can be scary too, as you mentioned. When we have friends who are not from around here and they think like, oh, those are like freshwater lakes, right? They're not, it's like, oh no, like there are freighters on those. Like it's like this
Yes,
is big
yes.
deal water. This is not, but they are so special and an amazing thing that we have here in this state. I know we all share a love for. Is there any other way in which the vibrant and tourism oriented community of Mackinac Island has influenced the way you approach your menu or your restaurant experience?
Yeah, because I say like right now in the wintertime, I do a flip where it's more for the locals and more for the community.
Mhm.
And then in the summertime, I go a lot more Jamaican to say. I have a more diverse and a larger audience to cater to.
Mm.
So the community does dictate what I do in terms of how I build my menu and set it out and stuff like that.
As Kingston Kitchen continues to grow, what new experiences or dishes can travelers look forward to in the future?
That was a good question, Chris. Here's a few ideas that I am thinking of, and I want to do a complete menu change one of these years. Where, like, for example, I'm toying with the idea of doing. I don't know if I should put it out there yet, Chris. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, Chris. But okay, I'll do it. I'm gonna breaking news on the Chris Marvel show. Yeah. For example, this winter, I'm thinking to do a homemade deep dish Chicago style pizza.
Wow.
Hold on, Chris. I haven't finished yet.
Okay.
So it's not your pizza with pepperoni and sausage, right? I'm thinking to do a Jamaican influence homemade deep dish pizza, square, like
Okay.
Detroit. So I'm thinking the topping is going to be oxtail, jerk chicken, curry goat. Those are like separate pizza. I'm been toying with this idea. Know that I have the facility right now. We're chartering course for a second location. Being on Mackinac Island, you're limited to what you can do as an experiment. I want to bring in fresh coconut, and you can get your drink in your coconut,
Oh, amazing.
just like you're in the Bahamas. But I got to make sure I get the right tools. I'm not going to be like using workman comps. Somebody lose their fingers, their hands.
Right. Of
Oh,
course.
God.
Yeah.
So I got a couple new ideas coming, Chris, in my head. You know, oxtail quesadilla.
Wow. Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I'm thinking to go full on in American cuisine, but really, really, really just flip it on its head.
Mhm.
Jamaican cuisine.
We're there for it whenever.
I have a pizza show going to next month to get to figure out how I'm gonna make this deep dish pizza. Can you imagine, Chris? See me flipping pizza in the here like us. People be like, he's not Italian. I'm like, I know.
Do you have curry goat on your menu today? Is that already, or would adding goat to the menu be new?
No. So my summer menu has all traditional Jamaican food. I have oxtail, curry goat, jerk chicken, jerk pork, fried chicken, ackee and sawfish, which is my national dish. Okay, I have escovitch fish. You can get the fillet if you're not adventurous, or you can get the whole fish with the head and everything. And all of those dishes come with rice and beans, sorry. American says beans, and fried plantain.
Awesome.
And then you can get, if you want, you can order a side of fried bami and festival. And all of that is traditional, authentic Jamaican cooking. Hand cooked by me round the clock.
And you have Blue Mountain Coffee.
And I serve Blue Mountain coffee with Sangster's rum cream.
That was, I think, maybe one of my favorite things when we visited was at the end of the meal, I got Blue Mountain to go and took it on the ferry and went back to the mainland on the ferry. And I thought, where can I get Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee? Truly one of the great coffees of the world. Here I can get it in my home state on Mackinac Island. Like, so incredible. Do you have any other advice or anything you would share for travelers who are coming to Kingston Kitchen for the first time and maybe are new to Jamaican cuisine?
My only suggestion is for travelers, American travelers, don't be afraid of Jamaican food. I want to be specific. Pepper is not our main ingredients. So most of all my dishes that has any Jamaican influence, which is all my dishes, right? The pepper is not the main thing in them. It's the flavors that I use. However, if you're already a seasoned traveler and knows Jamaican cuisine, I'll advise you to tell the server when you order, hey, tell the chef I want my jerk chicken spicy Jamaican way. Else you're going to get it not that spicy, because it's easy for me to make that sauce really spicy.
Yeah.
But once I make it spicy, I can't take it away.
Sure.
And Americans, if they get something too hot, they get all emotion. The colors of the rainbow comes out.
I deeply love very spicy food, and I am excited to try this the next time we're at a restaurant and see how it goes for me, because I love it, but it doesn't always go well.
So if you're a fan of spice, you can just tell your server that you like to have it spicy.
Yeah.
And that would be my only opinion I can suggest to first-time travelers coming to Kingston Kitchen. But also to know that Kingston Kitchen is going to be vibrant, flavorful food, fresh scratch cooking every day, made from scratch. So is your drinks. All my drinks is scratch made from the bar, at the bar. It's not your bar that you're going to get your Jack and Coke. No. Like, Ashleigh would love my Sorrel Sangria, right?
Sounds really good.
And my Sorrel Sangria is hibiscus. In America, you guys call it hibiscus. Yeah. And I take that and I let it sit overnight with pineapple, orange, ginger, pimento seed, rice. And that sit for 24 hours in water, in boiling water. And then I strain it off. Then I add all my Jamaican rums to it and my red wine. And Ashleigh's off to a wonderful day.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
I have my Jamaica rum punch, and all my liquors that I use is authentic Jamaican rum from Appleton Estate, Jerry and Neville and Appleton Rum. I'm the largest rum buyer in Michigan.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I buy a lot of rum because you guys drink a lot of rum. And I'm going to say this, I challenge a lot of people that says rum makes you dumb. No, because I'm yet to see anybody drink rum and do something dumb.
I love it. That's a whole additional thing we'll have to check out the next time we're in, because we've been into rum drinks lately too. We've been going to Puerto Rico fairly regularly past few years, and they have a rum tradition too that's of course different from the Jamaican one, but nevertheless is there. And so that's exposed us to some, but then we've also been learning more about kind of like the tiki drinks being kind of the American twist on a more authentic Caribbean tradition, and it's all very exciting. A whole other thing we'll have to check out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We have so much appreciation. We can't wait to come back up to Mackinac Island and visit the restaurant again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. And the next time you're up north, if you travel from the St. Ignace side, you can stop and see the new one in St. Ignace.
Oh, okay. So you do have a new location in St. Ignace?
I'm about to get it open up for April.
Okay.
Well, that is very exciting.
Now my coach is definitely going to be my more favorite spot.
Yes, that's for sure. Well, we will be up. Thanks again, Chef Shawn.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
That was a great interview with Chef Shawn Fearon of Kingston Kitchen on Mackinac Island. Thanks again for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, it was really a pleasure.
And I think it's time for a wine break at the end, a wine end.
Yeah, let's go to the wine break.
End.
We're here for the wine break. I refuse to rename the segment. And we have here with us in the studio a bottle of wine. Gruner Veltliner, I'm sure is my very American pronunciation of this Austrian set of words. This is from Chateau Grand Travers. We've talked about Chateau Grand Travers
many times.
Yeah, ad nauseum, in fact. So we don't necessarily need to talk about them more. But Gruner is an Austrian grape. It's an Austrian wine. But Chateau Grand Travers has been growing it and producing this bottle for a few years now. It's one of our favorites. So why don't we try it? I wonder what this is going to taste like. I said it was one of our favorites.
The color is very yellow.
It is really yellow, yeah. It's got that floral aroma, not as strong as like a Gewürztraminer or a Traminette or something like that.
Muscadino.
Right, but it definitely still has that. It's really refreshing. I grabbed it because we're celebrating approaching 60 degrees today.
Yes, it's a very exciting day.
Yeah, here we are in March and it's been cold and snowy. We've had a real winter this year for this part of the world anyway. But I grabbed a nice refreshing white wine for our wine break. This wine is 12.5% alcohol, and they recommend pairing it with food such as Caesar salad, shrimp tempura sausage, which is not something I've ever heard of or thought of.
Are you sure it's not shrimp tempura comma sausage?
No, there is no comma. Shrimp tempura sausage with caramelized
I'm pretty sure those are two different things.
Hey, CGT, if you're listening, first of all, we love you, and we're not criticizing you, but yeah, you missed a comma. Or also spicy jambalaya. We should have had this with our spicy Mexican food for dinner because it would have worked well. But anyway, yeah, look for that. And definitely you can find Austrian Gruner in, any wine shop would have it. But also if you can find some Michigan stuff, maybe that's even better to try, or I shouldn't say better, but more unique. But I think that's the wine break for today.
All right. Good wine break. Good episode. Good first interview.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast this week.
Thank you. That's all for today's episode of Go, See, Do, Explore. Thank you for joining us and sharing in the wonder of travel.
Keep the spirit of today's adventure alive by checking out our blog at goseedoexplore.com for even more travel inspiration.
Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps fellow travelers find us and join our community.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep traveling by any means necessary.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashley, bidding you farewell and happy exploring.